And so we are just about ready to get underway. Scotland all in navy, Iceland all in white. Scotland are going to go from left to right as we look at it from the upper tier of the main stand here at the National Stadium. And it will be the visitors, though, to kick us off as they look to also revive fortunes after that terrific period in which they got to the first major tournament in Euro 2016 before also reaching the World Cup a couple of years later. But it's not really gone their way since then. But under new management of Arne Gunn-Laugsen, they're looking to pick up once more as Scotland look to come forward in the early moments as John McGinn tried to thread it forward for George Hurst. But Iceland have dealt with that and move up the field themselves with Gudjonsson. And it's the Icelanders in the middle of the park, just looking to get a few passes together and take the sting out of the home crowd, who are still in good voice despite that disappointment in the Nations League playoff against Greece. Ball's back with Angus Gunn, who returns in goal in the absence of Craig Gordon. And now John Souttar back to Gunn once more inside his 6-yard box, goes long to the halfway line up towards McGinn. He can't keep a hold of it, and Iceland have it back at the back. And it's turned back to their own goalkeeper, Elias Olafsson of Midtjylland, clad all in luminous orange, and he fires it up towards the halfway line. Grant Hanley lets it go over his head, but it's going to go all the way through to Gunn, who just takes it back into his penalty area. Pretty inauspicious start to proceedings, Willie.
Yes, I would say so. Very quiet, particularly from Scotland. They've not had much of the ball. They've had very little control of the game. Listen, it's only 1 minute 45 seconds in, so I think we've got to give it a little bit of time to develop. But at the same time, I think the visitors have came. They've dominated the ball. They look very comfortable and confident on the ball as well, and Scotland yet to really get going.
Yeah, they've got 2 or 3 real high quality players, it has to be said. Iceland, for all their problems in recent times, they get relegated from League B in the Nations League in the playoffs, beaten by Kosovo. As Gunn takes a couple of attempts to actually hold on to the ball there, but he's actually got a foul and he's hurt himself in trying to gather that. Looks like he's holding his face there. You see what happened there, Michael?
I think he's holding his face due to the fact that he's got somewhere that's sore. I don't know whether he's rolled an ankle, or I think that could be it. I think perhaps he's just rolled his ankle.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with anything round about the face, that's for sure, because I'm just watching a replay, and it's when he goes to, take off with his, I think it's his right ankle, isn't it?
Yeah,
Michael, that he's rolled.
Yeah. Hopefully he's all right, because this is a big game for him. Craig Gordon's back in the national team, the number 1, and Angus Gunn, when he first came in at the side, it's actually his left ankle that he rolls, just in the collision there with Gudjonsson.
We talk about giving inexperience a chance tonight. If he has to go off, it's definitely going to be inexperience coming on, because neither of the 2 backup goalkeepers in Kieran Slicker nor Robbie McCrory have got a Scotland cap to their name. It's going to be a big choice for Steve Clarke as to which of those he would pitch in. Kieran Slicker hasn't been playing at Ipswich. I think just 1 appearance to his name this season. Robbie McCrory certainly more appearances than that for Killie this season, but
it doesn't look particularly good. But I would like to think that he would be able to shake it off. Yeah, painful, but get up and get it moving is probably the best course of action. Otherwise it could stiffen up.
It's Kieran Slicker who's out warming up. Certainly it could be a huge moment for him as Angus Gunn is helped to his feet, but we await the signal from the physios. I think Kieran Slicker's going to have to come on here, and this is not what was planned, certainly, but opportunity knocks for Kieran Slicker as it closes in the face almost of Angus Gunn, who is really saying, I've got the opportunity tonight, not in the last 3 squads.
I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, come on, surely try and give it a go. I mean, yes, he's rolled his ankle there, but it looks as if that's it.
Yeah, he's not testing it much at all, is he? I think the physios have had a look at it.
I mean, he's not jumped, it is just literally that he's, come out and rolled it. I think we've all rolled our ankle at one time or another. It isn't particularly nice. It can be very, very painful, but I'm surprised he's not, been up and trying to move it a little bit more. I mean, had he jumped up and landed on it, we could perhaps imagine that there was no chance, but he was on the ground, and disappointing to see that, because this was a big night for Angus Gunn for many reasons. Trying to get his international career back up and running, trying to get his club career going too.
He showed a lot of pain in his face though, didn't he, in the initial movement.
He's walking off very gingerly, you'd have to say, and I guess the situation he's in with not having a club at the moment, he perhaps wouldn't want to risk further injury over the course of the game here and jeopardise whatever's going to happen in his future. So Kieran Slicker is going to be handed his Scotland debut. It's now 6 minutes into the game, but the injury happened just a couple of minutes in, and a 22-year-old who's got 18 under 21 caps to his name, English born, like Gunn, but eligible through his Scots dad, exactly like Gunn. And on he comes. An encouraging word there from the Scotland manager Steve Clarke in his ear before he makes his way, and he's certainly welcomed into the Scotland goal by the Hampden crowd, but a big moment for him, certainly.
Well, you've got to take these moments, haven't you? It's unexpected, absolutely. But at the same time, he's in the squad. He's good enough to be named in the squad. So this is a chance, and these friendlies should be, in my opinion, an opportunity. He's been handed that opportunity, and now he's got to take it.
So play resumes. George Hurst gets his head to the ball as it's launched long. Slicker's first touches a Scotland player, and out of play over on the far side for a Scotland throw-in. Kieran Tierney on his 50th cap rolls it back to Slicker once more, giving him another extra early touch. Here he is, left-footed, knocking it up towards the halfway line. Doesn't get a whole lot of distance, and it's going to come back at him. Here's an opportunity, and Iceland have got the opening goal, and it's a fabulous strike from the edge of the box from André Gudjonsson. It all comes about from Slicker's attempted clearance. He didn't get a whole lot of distance. It was headed back forward to the edge of the box. André Gudjonsson took possession and curled it into the top corner. It's been a nightmare start for Scotland, losing their goalkeeper and losing the opening goal inside 8 minutes. It's Scotland 0, Iceland 1.
But it's a brilliant goal, isn't it, though? I mean, on his left foot there, and he just sees that corner. Slicker gave the ball away. It was a poor clearance in the first place, but Gudjonsson getting onto it, left foot, and he's curled it into the most perfect spot in the top left-hand corner for Iceland. A wonderful goal. That's a dagger to the heart of Scotland, but they haven't started it. They've started this game really poorly. They've had the injury to Angus Gunn as well. The substitutes come on, made an error, and Iceland has taken advantage of it. But it's a magnificent strike.
It's terrible defending, I've got to say. I mean, first of all, as the ball goes out to Kieran Tierney, he closes himself off very quickly, and only the goalkeeper to play it back to, rather than opening up and trying to play the ball down the line. Kieran Slicker doesn't get good contact on it at all. And then when it comes to Gudjonsson, for me, I'm looking at Grant Hanley coming across, and he's trying to block off an area that I'm thinking he's got to show him the other way. He's actually shown him towards the goal. And It's a terrible goal to lose, but I mean, Scotland have struggled to string 2 passes together so far.
It's slack as well, isn't it? You know, they're not alert to it. You know, even the little passes between goalkeeper and Tierney there, it wasn't confident. It was slow, slack. There wasn't any real reason for it. And then no reaction to it when it's a poor clearance as well. And when Gudjohnsen gets it, you know, he's got plenty of time.
Yep.
Just takes it down, looks up, spots the top corner, and delivers it exactly where he wanted it.
Yeah, well, Scotland have got to respond here. Almost 10 minutes on the clock, and they trail by a goal to nil against 74th in the world, Iceland, who have recorded just 1 win in the last 7 matches. That was against Montenegro, but they certainly look more comfortable, more assured out there than this Scotland side, who we've been discussing, are now vastly experienced at this level, but they're looking out of sorts in the opening stages, rattled a little bit maybe by the loss of their goalkeeper early on, but they haven't been able to adjust. And here come Iceland once more. Over on the right hand side, it's Thorsteinsson as they look to build another attack here into Magnusson. It's given away though, and chance for Hurst to nip in. He just hesitated a little bit, and Iceland got a foot to it, and it's not forward, but Suter plays it back to Slicker. 11 minutes in, you listen to Sportsound on BBC Radio Scotland, and Scotland trail by a goal to nil. Can Napoli's hero Scott McTominay lift? It's Gilmore playing it back to Slicker. But some of the players in those Scotland shirts have achieved so much at club level this season, and they've got to bring that form to the international fray. Suter, I think, has just clipped an opponent there with an arm, and Iceland pick up possession once more. Then Suter goes down. It was an inadvertent touch if he did catch Haraldsson, the Icelandic captain, and in the end Scotland get the free kick inside their penalty area. But 11 and a half minutes in, I think
Kieran's looking, I think the back three should just miss him out for a period of time and let him kind of settle down, because he's given that ball away again, and that was very nearly another opportunity for Iceland to get the second goal. Now, you know, he's came on. He's been offered the opportunity. He's given away the first goal, might have given away the second goal. He's got to try and calm himself down, but he needs some help from the players in front of him. I think you know, the little passes. What's the point in the little passes just now? Scotland have done absolutely nothing in 12 minutes. Okay, you know, it's been stopped for maybe 4 or 5 of that as well, but they've done absolutely nothing. There's no energy. There's no organisation. It all looks very nervous as well. You've got a new goalkeeper too, so keep it simple.
And it's Iceland coming forward again. It's Thorsteinsson at the edge of the box. That one's blocked by Hanley, but it's picked up by the captain, Håkansson. Tries to feed it to the back post, away by Suter, and then once again he finds Gilmore, this time at the edge of the box, with the Scotland fans looking for more from their side in these opening exchanges, trailing by a goal to nil. Scotland have got themselves a free kick for a foul on Hurst just inside their own half over on the far side, but not the start that Steve Clarke was looking for, that's for sure. And Scotland have got to lift themselves here.
It's been a tired end of the season start, hasn't it? That's how it looks from up here. There's been no urgency whatsoever. Very little leadership out there too. You know, there's plenty of caps, plenty of experience, and you know, they've got to bring that to the game.
What you would say is that there were no call-offs at all from this game, and you often get a whole bundle of them, but it's Iceland coming forward once more. The goal scorer just pokes it ahead of himself to his strike partner there, Gudmundsson. Just held up for the moment out to the right hand side now as Iceland look to take advantage of a fairly sloppy Scotland start here. They're now gone back the way, but they're still knocking the ball about quite comfortably. Johannesson in the middle of the park, that's been given away. Ferguson, we're looking for a big performance from him in a Scotland jersey. Many people have been calling for him to start more often for his country, having lit up Serie A as well. Scotland just slowing it down again, playing it at the back, and it's Hanley to Suter, and out to the right hand side to Johnston. He sweeps it infield, but it's not found another Scotland jersey, and Iceland pick up possession once more.
I think it's played into an area where, you know, he's playing in a general position that you'd be expecting your centre forward to be. You know, he's tracking back towards the ball. You don't want him to just simply take a touch and play it backward, because we've been doing enough of that. He's playing the ball around the corner. I'm looking for my centre forward to pin the defender, take the ball in. You know, he spins it around the corner into what I would regard as not the worst position, but it looked as if George Huss was running away in behind, and you know, Max Johnson's never going to be able to be playing the ball in behind there.
Here's Suter stepping away from Akanson in the middle of the park, and now McTominay picks up on the halfway line.
Iceland are playing with plenty of energy, that's for sure, though.
It's a good ball from McTominay for Johnson, tries to take it down on the chest, but he's miscontrolled it, and it runs behind for the goal kick to Iceland, who lead by a goal to nil. Quarter of an hour gone here at Hampden. Scotland have lost their goalkeeper to an early injury. Angus Gunn being forced off. Kieran Slicker now on for his debut, and no sooner was he on than he failed to find a teammate with a clearance, and Iceland took advantage to grab the opening goal of the evening through Andre Gudjonsson, his ninth goal for his country, and one that his father Idor would have been pretty proud of. Here comes Scotland looking for an equaliser. Hurst beaten to it though by the goalkeeper Olafsson, out for a throw-in on this near side.
Listen, there's plenty of time to put it right. You know, that's for sure. Very early in the game, Scotland starting poorly. You know, but they need that energy. They need that tempo. It just hasn't been there. It's been a little bit better in the last 3 or 4 minutes or so. You know, but I always thought that, you know, when you go into any game of football, it's really important how you start the game, and you've got to start it with a certain amount of tempo, a certain amount of belief, and a certain amount of control of the game. And Scotland just haven't had that. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It's the visitors that have had it.
Scotland try and play it down the left-hand side, but again, possession is given up rather cheaply, and Iceland pick up and look to take advantage of that. It's Haraldsson looking to take on Suter. Suter stands firm though, finds McGinn, who spins and not once but twice holds on to possession, and then plays it out to McTominay left-hand side, still a couple of yards inside his own half. Robertson with a neat turn tries to just clip it over his marker, and he's fouled in the process, and wins Scotland a free kick about 10 yards inside Iceland territory. Scotland look to really mount their first meaningful attack of the game. 17 minutes in, 1-0 they trail.
It was good play from John McGinn initially, allowing the team to keep playing the ball forward. Because I just think so far it's been a little bit too comfortable with playing the ball back towards their own goal.
Here's McTominay picking up from Robertson just at the edge of the box, just overdoes it but manages to get it back. Ferguson, he's caught with a late challenge there, and he felt that one. The referee's blown up for another free kick, and he's going to have a word there with Jon Torsteinsson, the right midfielder, about that challenge, which has given Scotland another free kick about 15 yards or thereabouts inside the Iceland half, left of centre, but it's a chance for Suter and Hanley to make their way forward and try and get on the end of this as Scotland search for an equaliser early in the contest. It's Andy Robertson that's over it as he raises the right arm and then swings it towards the back post. The keeper's come a long way, but he's taken that under very little pressure. Hanley looked to be the target, but it didn't reach him. It's a good take from Elias Olafsson, and Iceland continue to lead by a goal to nil.
That's too easy for him though, isn't it? It's a poor delivery, I think, from Andy Robertson. He's got to put it into an area that the goalkeeper just can't come and just pluck it out the air. It was nowhere near Grant Hanley. If he was aiming for Grant Hanley, then he certainly didn't find his target. So an opportunity wasted to put, you know, Iceland under a little bit of pressure from, you know, a free kick. Well, they should have at least been having to think about it defensively. They didn't. And it's all down to the poor delivery into the box.
It's back with Olafsson, the goalkeeper, who plays it out short to Sverrir Ingesson of Panathinaikos. Played square across the face of the goal there to Magnusson, also at Panathinaikos in Greece. all the way through to Slicker, who's well out of his penalty area. Just plays that short to Kieran Tierney, who will certainly want to mark his 50th appearance with a positive result. That's played forward, looking for Johnson. He looked to be offside. Yeah, the assistant has waited, as they normally do these days, but eventually flags against Johnson. VAR is not in operation tonight for this friendly game at Hampden. But either way, that was always going to be flagged offside as Iceland get the free kick. We've played almost 20 minutes. Scotland trailing by an early goal to nil by a famous named Icelander, Gudjonsson. And it was a goal his father would have been proud of, finding the top corner after the goalkeeping error, you could say. Iceland have it over on the far side. It goes back once more to the keeper. They look pretty comfortable in trying to play out from the back as they give it away to John McGinn, who clips it in. Beyond, it's hurst onto the roof of the net. Just couldn't climb that extra inch or two that he needed to be able to get over the ball and hit it down on target after McGinn had picked him out after sloppiness in the Icelandic defence for once. But George Hurst with a goal gaping, can't keep it down. It's still Scotland 0, Iceland 1.
He just can't get enough height. I mean, he's stretching all the way. It's poor defensive play from Iceland, but a delicate, lovely little dink ball from John McGinn down the right hand side. He picks out Hurst. He is stretching, but that's a great opportunity for him. If he gets that just a little bit lower, he gets under the bar instead of over it.
Here comes Scotland again, hopefully beginning to find a bit of form in the game, but McTominay's ball into the box is a poor one. Hanley though gets it to Tierney, left hand side, just inside the Iceland half. It's back with Hanley, plays it square to Suter, into Gilmore, always available, tries the pass into the feet of McGinn, who's closely watched there, too closely for the referee's liking, and it's another free kick to Scotland. They're beginning to mount up, and the referee looks to be tiring of some of these challenges of the visitors. Scotland wanted to take the free kick quickly, but were denied the opportunity to do so. It's taken now, and it's out with Robertson left hand side, and McTominay, who started out on that left hand side, and he can't find a way through, and it's come off him last, and it's behind for a goal kick. We've played almost 22 minutes. Scotland with their best chance just a couple of minutes ago, with George Hurst heading onto the roof of the net, but it remains Scotland 0, Iceland 1.
Do you think he could have adjusted his feet, Michael, to get a little bit more height, maybe take a step back? Yeah, Hurst to step back. I mean, he was stretching. It was a difficult one for him, but it looked a delightful little chip from John McGinn, and he was all on his own.
I know what you mean. I think it's just another one of those where end of the season just being a little bit slower to react. That I think you're probably right. If he'd reacted a little bit quicker and moved his feet, he maybe would have been able to get in a position where he would have been able to get the contact on it, that would have been able to get it on target. But the last few minutes have been better. Scotland playing forward quicker. You know, Billy Gilmore there played a lovely ball around the corner. John McGinn pins the defender like he has done so many times over the years, and that's the difference in terms of playing forward, taking the opposition out of the game. The first 15 minutes where we're just playing everything in front of the Icelanders.
Here's Torsteinsson for the Icelanders though, at the angle of the box, right hand side, up against Robertson. He gets the shot off. Slicker hasn't gathered it, does it the second attempt, just before Ellertson's able to pounce on the rebound, and Slicker, who's already conceded once, ensures that there is no second goal going in after 23 minutes for Iceland.
He'll be glad he got that his second attempt, wouldn't he? It wasn't far away from being spilt out in front of the Icelandic striker. It would have been an easy tap in, but he did the job. It took him 2 attempts, but he managed to retrieve the situation.
Scotland come forward once more.
Good ball.
It's Tierney. It is a good ball. It's McTominay inside the penalty area. He has to turn back though. Just couldn't take it. He's trying, but Hurst. Brilliant save from Olafsson to deny George Hurst, who just tried to clip it towards the top corner after being led into his path by McTominay. But Olafsson went flying up to his right to tip it over the crossbar. So unlucky George Hurst. But it's still Scotland 0, Iceland 1.
It's a fabulous save though, isn't it? Olafsson. I mean, he is, I don't know his height, but he's a tall figure there. That looked as though it was heading for the top left-hand corner, and a very decent effort from Hurst. It wasn't an easy one to get in target. He was well set up there, by Scott McTominay, and that was heading right for the top corner. Fabulous save, though.
In comes the corner from the left-hand side. There's the equaliser. Scotland are level, and it's one inside the 6-yard box by John Souttar. He's just too strong for his marker, and Scotland, having come back into the game in the last 5 minutes or so, have drawn level. The header from just a few yards out had too much power on it for Olafsson on that occasion, and on 25 minutes it's Scotland 1, Iceland 1.
Well, it's good to get a fairly early response, get back level. It has been better in the last 5 minutes or so, and you're absolutely spot on. John Souttar just showing really good strength. I think it's Magnusson, he just gives a nudge to it and then he pins, and he's able to get the header on target inside the 6-yard box. Olafsson's got no chance of saving it from that distance, but that's it. John Souttar, good strength, budges Magnusson out the way.
Excellent.
Not a bad delivery as well.
Very good.
On the corner, a little bit of curl in it, difficult to defend against as well. And you're right, Souttar very, very strong, and getting a head on it, took it extremely well.
Just the second international goal from the Max Johnson corner. It was a good delivery, and right on the money as far as John Souttar was concerned, and he wasn't going to miss from 4 yards.
I was just going to say, Al, before that, in terms of talking about George Hurst getting his feet set for the header, and maybe just being a little bit slow to react for the strike that led to the corner kick. I've got to say, he got himself set really quickly, because the ball came back at a fair bit of pace. I thought he handled that brilliantly. The shot, the effort on goal, really testing Olafsson, because it was right in the top corner. Very good play from the striker there.
If it would have ended up in the back of the net, we would have been speaking about it as being, a fabulous goal, because a nice little cutback from McTominay. And as Michael said, that's really difficult from the angle that he's in. He's almost going back the way as well to get his foot round it and have the accuracy to bring out that magnificent save.
Well, Scotland just appear to have found their rhythm in the last 10 minutes or thereabouts, and the goal was a sense that it was coming. And perhaps now we'll see the Scotland we hope to see from the outset. 27 minutes played, and it's one apiece. But Iceland have been decent, certainly started again the better of the two sides, going in front.
Well, they were pressing right up on us, and we just seemed very hesitant and reluctant to try and play the ball forward. Everything was going back to the goalkeeper. It was as if nobody wanted to take any sort of risk with their passing. All of a sudden, slowly but surely, they've been able to just play the ball forward, take the opposition out of the game to a great extent, and they've got themselves a lot higher up the park. You think about that first 10 minutes, I mean, it was almost exclusively played, never mind in our half, but our defensive third. Nobody was wanting to play the ball forward. We were getting pressed, and we just kept wanting to go back to the goalkeeper.
Scotland, though, doing the pressing at the moment, but they've lost out, and Iceland able to advance themselves over the halfway line. Forward comes Gudmundsson, out to the right hand side it goes to Thorsteinsson, back in field to Johannesson, and they continue to build through the midfield. Johannesson once more, and Scotland looking to just absorb this little bit of pressure before mounting another attack of their own. They forced Iceland all the way back to the goalkeeper, and here he is on the edge of his penalty area. Olafsson out to the right hand side. The knockdown will fall kindly for Robertson. He just rolls that back to Kieran Slicker, who will have been as relieved as anyone to see the Scotland equaliser going in. Gilmore looking for options ahead of him, but he has to go back the way to the goal scorer Souttar, whose goal comes 4 years after his only other one for his country against Denmark. Max Johnson, who swung that corner in. He's about to take the throw in, about 15 yards inside his own half, down the right hand side. Playing his football with Sturm Graz, and a title winner there. There's suggestions that he may be attracting interest from even bigger clubs. It certainly made a success of that move out to Austria, and he's going to get another throw in here just down in front of us, midway inside his own half, having made his debut out in that win over Greece back in March. Goes down the line with the throw in for Hurst. And it's out for another Scotland throw in. They made a good few yards there. Ferguson thinks about the quick throw in, but eventually we'll just leave that to Johnston once again. Almost exactly half an hour played here, and it's one apiece between Scotland and Iceland. You listen to Sportscenter BBC Radio Scotland. The penultimate game of the football calendar. We'll have full coverage of the friendly out in Liechtenstein on Monday, both on television and radio, and across all our digital platforms as well, as Scotland look to sign the season off with a couple of victories. But they've got a bit of work to do here this evening to turn this one each scoreline into a victory, and Iceland look up for this as well. But it's Tierney with some good work, and now McTominay back to Tierney, left hand side, almost at the byline now. Can he get the cross? Manages to dig it out. It's another chance, and it's for Johnston this time. He looked to be caught in two minds, and he just knocks it behind in the end. I think he wasn't sure whether to go for goal or to try and play it square for either McGinn or Hurst. In the end he did neither, but it does go down as another presentable opportunity that Scotland have passed up. 31 played, Scotland 1, Iceland 1.
That's a big chance, isn't it? And we need to see more of Kieran Tierney down that left hand side. Him and Andy Robertson linking up. It's a really good cross from the byline. The goalkeeper Olafsson nowhere. I think he misjudges it completely. Comes to Johnson. He's got to do better. He could actually take a touch. I think it surprises him that the goalkeeper hasn't actually continued his run to try to get a touch on it before it gets to Johnson. And when it comes to him, he just panics. He doesn't do anything really. He throws his right boot at it, and it just bounces into the ground, and towards the side of the goal post as well. Big chance, though.
Iceland have it just 10 yards inside their own half, looking to regain the stranglehold they had on the start of proceedings here, as it's Haraldsson, their captain, and linchpin in the midfield, plays it back the way for Tararsson of Preston North End. And down the right hand side now they come. Back the way it goes though, as Scotland look to harass Iceland in possession. Olafsson's not sure who to play it to. He plays a rather risky ball to Tararsson, but he does get the pass off at the edge of his own box under significant pressure there.
Could lose Ferguson. I'm just looking at the replay there, wondering whether he could have just even tried to slide down the side, and if he gets any sort of touch on it, it would have fallen forward to George Hurst, and Olafsson was at the side of his goal as well.
Iceland have it once more and play the diagonal out to this left hand side, looking for Ellertson, the full back. Comes down to Haraldsson, back the way into Johannesson. Iceland certainly look comfortable when they do have possession. Here's Haraldsson, who is certainly right up there with their top players, but as he went for the 1-2, he looked to be blocked off. That's what he's claiming to the referee, who's having none of it, and it's back in the arms of Kieran Slicker. 33 played at the National Stadium. It's Scotland 1, Iceland 1. Scotland falling behind to an early good Jonsson strike, but drawing level after 25 minutes when John Suter headed home from Max Johnson's corner kick delivery. Scotland have won all 6 previous meetings with Iceland. 3 here and 3 out in Iceland. All of those were qualifiers of one type or another. World Cup qualifiers in 84, 85 and 08, 09. European Championship qualifiers in 02, 03. Scotland victorious in each of them and looking to maintain that 100% record here this evening. It's Iceland in possession, just at the edge of their own box. Scotland looking to nick the ball from them, but still Haraldsson is inside his own penalty area. Remaining composed. Magnussen now still inside their own box. Tierney coming all the way across the right hand side to track Gudmundsson, and eventually it ends with Grant Hanley fouling Gudjonsson, the goal scorer, and Iceland get themselves a free kick about 15 yards inside their own half, left hand side. 35 almost played here. Scotland 1, Iceland 1.
Well, the visitors certainly like to play football in their own box, don't they? When they've got the ball and they're looking to play the sharp passes, but I think it could be one of these situations that they over-try it, they overplay it in these areas, and Scotland certainly are playing the high press and haven't been too far on a couple of occasions from nicking it, so it's perhaps the way they want to play, but I think it's an opportunity for Scotland to put them under pressure, that high press, and win the ball back in a really dangerous area.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a style they've been trying to play for some years, or whether it's the new coach trying to implement that. It has a little bit the look of that, asking his team to play in a new way, and perhaps it can be taken advantage of, as you say, Willie. Scotland get the free kick over on the far side as Robertson goes down just a few yards inside the Iceland half.
You've got to say, so far they've dealt with the pressure pretty well, because they've been in very tight areas. Their close control has been good. Serious pressure has been applied to them, but they've not so far turned the ball over deep in their own half. But that's no reason to stop doing what Scotland's doing. You keep doing it, because if you do win that ball up there, you've got an opportunity to be getting a strike on goal.
Slipped there by McTominay when he was in a decent position, allows Iceland to pick up, but they've lost possession once more. And here's Ferguson, just looking for him to maybe get a little bit more involved in the midfield play, as Johnston now plays it into McGinn. It's back with Ferguson midway inside the Iceland half. Now it's Gilmore sprays a lovely ball out to Robertson, left hand side. He lays it back the way to Tierney. Tierney was still about 15 yards inside his own half, clips it forward looking for Robertson. He's not been able to find a teammate. He just needed to just roll that back, but he's tried to clip it back post. Johnston keeps it alive, sends it in. It's been knocked into the net by the challenging McTominay, who took goalkeeper and ball into the net there, and is penalised for doing so. I mean, I think maybe about 100 years ago you could get away with that, Willie, but in this day and age that's a free kick all day long.
100 years?
I mean, there was. I'm not saying that you.
Listen,
were,
I know
you
I'm at the veteran stage. I'm at the veteran stage. 100. Kind of
you watched many games from 100 years ago, Al?
I know what you meant. Let's move on. Al.
There was a period you must have all seen. It couldn't have been 100 years ago, of course. I'm jesting, but there was a period in the early days where basically forwards could take man and ball and bundle them into the net, and the goal would be awarded. But
90 years ago,
whenever TV started, really, that's when it was allowed.
But anyway, listen,
when did John Logie Baird invent it?
The answer to your question, irrespective of how long ago, is why not? Why not? Put the goalkeeper under a little bit of pressure. He didn't like it, did he? It was only I thought McTominay actually made a reasonable effort. It wasn't as though he just barged them out the way. The goalkeeper was always going to get it, but I don't think there's any problem making sure that the goalkeeper knows that he's in a game either, irrespective of whether it's now or 100 years ago.
He certainly knows in a game tonight after that challenge. Anyway, it's getting a little bit feisty out there, which is no bad thing for an end of season friendly.
That's good. It gives a bit of bite. It gives the players a bit of something to play for, because there's an edge to it. It's what you're looking for, especially in these end of season friendlies.
John McGinn certainly put himself about out there, as well as McTominay picks up on the halfway line and tries to carry Scotland forward. It's Johnston now, right hand side. Infield he finds Gilmore, who's quickly closed down, can't get the pass off, and Iceland pick up, headed forward. Gilmore can't get the loose ball either, and Gudmundsson of Fiorentina gets involved, and Iceland have it back at the edge of their own penalty area. It's picked up in there by Johannesson. And forward they come down the right hand side. Got what 6 minutes until the interval. There'll be plenty of time added on for the early injury to Angus Gunn, which took a good 4 or 5 minutes to be dealt with before Kieran Slicker was brought on to replace him. So probably looking closer to 10 minutes left in this first period as things stand at 1 apiece between Scotland and Iceland in this last home friendly before the trip to Liechtenstein to round things off, as the ball's rolled forward by Olofsson to Haraldsson, signed from Copenhagen just a couple of summers ago for 15 million euros. So they've certainly got players of a certain calibre who have moved clubs for a fair old amount of money. And here is Haraldsson once more midway inside his own half. Just rolls it back to the edge of the penalty area, and Iceland look to bring the ball forward once more. They certainly haven't been outclassed by Scotland this evening so far, as they look to make an impression. They're looking to do exactly that. There's a slip there at a very inopportune moment by Mikael Ellertsson, because he was in behind. I'm not sure if he would have been flagged offside ultimately or not, but if he wasn't and he hadn't slipped, he was in with a real chance of putting Iceland back ahead. But as it was, he did slip, and Scotland have a let-off. Ellertsson looks to the heavens.
Yeah, thankfully he slips. He's not offside at all. It just defensively looked like Scotland are at 6s and 7s. There was no real communication between the players involved. Grant Hanley goes to, I mean, that is a classic, defender just getting into a position and falling over. It did not look like there was much in that, but Max Johnson doesn't see the run. It's a good run from out to in. Very difficult for the defender to match that. Kieran Slicker's running into an area where the ball's not really going and gets himself out of position away from the goals, and Grant Hanley fortunately is able there to mop up because of the slip from Ellertsson.
Scotland have it through McTominay midway inside the Iceland half. Then Ferguson out to Robertson. Good first time ball. McTominay inside the area now, trying to work it onto his right foot and find the shooting opportunity. Breaks back to Ferguson as McTominay is blocked. Takes a ricochet behind. It'll be a Scotland corner. 42 on the clock. Scotland 1, Iceland 1.
Yeah, pretty productive down the left hand side. I think that without doubt's been the highlight of the offensive play. You feel that it should be, when you've got Robertson and Tierney and McTominay all down that side, and they've linked up extremely well on a number of occasions, that being one of them. Iceland dealt with it well, a lot of bodies around about, and eventually blocking it for the corner,
which will be taken again by Max Johnson from the same position as he set up the equaliser, and it's almost a second, albeit it's a free kick being given for the challenge by Hanley this time at the back post. It was he who won it, but unfairly, says the referee, as he sent the header wide in any case, and so it remains all square, as there might be an Iceland defender had stayed down, but he's up on his feet, won't need attention after Hanley landed on him there. But it will be the free kick to Iceland inside their own 6-yard box, with just a couple of minutes of regulation time left at the end of the 45. It was the unfortunate Ellertsson there who slipped at the other end just a moment ago, and he had a really big chance to put Iceland back in front, and it was him that Hanley landed on there.
Yeah, I think Grant Hanley, if he shows a little bit more composure, he's got a decent chance of winning that without fouling the Ellertsson, because I don't think he was relishing the challenge of going head to head with Grant Hanley, but it was all over him, wasn't it? It was really, really clumsy, and again a very good delivery from Max Johnson towards the back post. Should have been something more productive, should have came from it.
Ferguson goes down, but no free kick given, and that allows Iceland to come forward, and it's Scotland through Tierney this time conceding the corner, as Iceland look to end the half as they started it, which was on the front foot and on top. And they will have a corner here on the left hand side as they look to move back in front. And they certainly haven't come here to be whipping boys tonight. Certainly they're ranked 30 places below. Scotland dropping into Nations League C for the next campaign, having been beaten by Kosovo in their own playoff matches, and not in great form, but they certainly haven't looked like also-rans tonight, as the referee spotted something that he feels needs addressed inside the penalty area before the corner kick can be taken. So a word in the ear of a couple of players before Gudmundsson here will have the opportunity on the left-hand side to swing the delivery in to the Scotland penalty area. It's a near post ball, is causing all sorts of confusion. Slicker hasn't been able to keep it out. Iceland are back in front. They look like the keeper should have been able to deal with that. Heaven knows who got the final touch there, but it's blasted in from just half a yard out. It's another bit of calamity in terms of the Scotland defending, and Kieran Slicker not covering himself in glory by any stretch of the imagination. And Scotland find themselves behind again. It is Scotland 1, Iceland 2.
Yeah, you know, I think Slicker should do much better, that's for sure. There's so many bodies in front of him though, and it's poor defending as well. I think it is a header from, not sure which Scotland player it is, and it ricochets off of an Icelandic player, and Slicker, it's actually an OG, isn't it?
It's Ferguson, I think.
It's Lewis Ferguson that takes it, that eventually takes the last touch. I don't know if you could point at Slicker. Listen, he would have had to have reacted really swiftly to get behind that, but it's coming to him, you know, very unexpectedly off the boot of his own player, and it sneaks in.
It's a shocker.
It's a defending, isn't it, though? I mean, were you watching Tierney? Tierney was spoken to. He's not looking at the ball, Kieran Tierney. And I know they do that all the time, but why did they do that? They've got to have an idea of where the ball's going to be delivered to. Okay, you know, try to take your man out and try to make sure he doesn't get a run on you, but you've got to have an idea of where the ball's going to come to. And it's just a bagatelle in there. It's bouncing off players, and eventually it bounces off Lewis Ferguson into the back of the net.
Yeah, it comes off the heel of John Souttar onto Ferguson, who knows very little about it.
Yeah.
It almost pokes it in off the post.
I know what Willie's saying there about the goalkeeper, but for me it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great at all. Yes, it's ricocheting around, but I'm still looking at the goalkeeper and thinking, I'm wanting him to do better there.
Yeah. Fair point. I'm looking at defenders thinking I'm wanting them to do better as well.
Well, yeah, they do better than obviously the goalkeeper doesn't get drawn into the action there, but just it goes in at it goes in at that post. He's there. He's got a full hand there as well, but somehow it gets past him.
I think what we can say is overall it's a very poor goal to lose. And Scotland have ended this half, or are ending the half, in a similar fashion to which they started it.
I'm finding myself in a rare position of maybe even trying to defend the goalkeeper here.
It's two rubbish goals that we've conceded.
Absolutely.
And we're on the back foot again as John Souttar stays calm though and finds Hanley, who whips it forward looking for him again. It will fall for Billy Gilmour in the middle of the park as Scotland look for a second equaliser before half time. It's out to Robertson. Robertson with the chance to cross, slip inside the penalty area. McTominay trying to make something of it, but it's hacked away before he can get control of the ball, and Iceland survived that particular 40 forward from Scotland. A minute of injury time left to play. Scotland 1, Iceland 2.
I think they've got their slippers on out there. I mean, they're sliding all over the place. Surely you need to get a little bit of a stud there so that you're not slipping. It was an Icelandic defender, I'm not sure which one, but
Ingerson. I think it actually benefited them because he slips and it takes Scott McTominay by surprise. I don't think he's expecting the ball to come to him at all, and it bounces off of him.
Ingerson down, perhaps needing a bit of treatment now. He's getting back to his feet. He'll just limp on to the end of the last few seconds of injury time. And Scotland having played reasonably well for about 20 minutes of this first half, but starting it poorly and finishing it poorly, and that's why they find themselves behind as half-time approaches.
I wouldn't even say they've finished it poorly. It's just that, it's that one instant. It's a set piece. The general play after the first 10-15 minutes, Scotland have been alright, but they've conceded 2 rubbish goals. The first one obviously in a period where we didn't start particularly well, but the second one here at the end of the half it's just a set piece that they've not defended properly.
Iceland have it just at the edge of their own penalty area. We're beyond the 4 minutes initially added on, and that now comes to an end, and boos ring round Hampden because the Tartan Army are not happy with what they've seen from the home team so far. I'm sure Steve Clark won't be exactly delighted either. It started badly for Scotland when Angus Gunn, within a couple of minutes of the game beginning, had to go off, having rolled his ankle in gathering the ball. He was replaced by the debutant Ipswich goalkeeper Kieran Slicker, who within moments of coming on had a poor clearance. Iceland gathered up possession and found Andrew Gudjonsson at the edge of the box, and he didn't need asking twice before he curled it past the out of position Slicker and into the top corner for a deserved lead at that stage for Iceland. Scotland began to make something of the game, say about 20 minutes in. Hurst was picked out by McGinn, had an open goal but just couldn't climb high enough to keep his header down. It ended up on the roof of the net. Then he was denied moments after that by a terrific save, you'd have to say, from Elias Olafsson in the Iceland goal. But that led to the corner that led to the equaliser, which was sent in from the corner by Max Johnston and headed home by John Souttar 25 minutes in to give Scotland the leveller. And from that point onwards, we thought that perhaps Scotland would go and take charge of the game. And although they were certainly on top, they couldn't find a second goal. Max Johnston perhaps passing up the best opportunity beyond that one when he knocked wide from a Kieran Tierney delivery. And then just on the stroke of 45 minutes, a corner conceded on the left hand side, swung in near post, not dealt with at all well by the Scotland backline as a whole, and it comes off John Souttar first, then Lewis Ferguson, and into the back of his own net to make the half-time scoreline at Hampden. Scotland 1, Iceland 2.
Football from Sports Sound.
Brilliant drop of the shoulder!
From BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no substitute. BBC Radio Scotland is celebrating a summer of live music.
We're giving you the chance to win tickets to the biggest gigs and festivals across the summer.
You're coming to Murrayfield! Thank you very, very much. Oh, you're a big Robbie fan?
I love him. I grew up with him.
Who are you going to take with you?
I don't know. I've got 2 daughters.
There's 2 chances to win every Wednesday. Listen to mornings after 10 a.m. for the first chance to play.
And afternoons after 1:30 for another chance to win.
To find out more about the competition and the prizes, head to bbc.co.uk/Radio Scotland.
Win every Wednesday with Live in 2025 on BBC Radio Scotland.
The half-time score here at Hampden Park in this evening's friendly is Scotland 1, Iceland 2. There are some World Cup qualifiers that have reached the half-time stage. Estonia 1, Israel 1, Norway 3, Italy 0, North Macedonia 0, Belgium 1, Wales 1, Liechtenstein 0, Czech Republic 1, Montenegro 0, and Gibraltar 0, Croatia 2. William Miller, talk us through both of these goals. I mean, good luck. I mean, it was a wonderful strike. We've got to give a lot of credit to that for the opening goal. But talk to us whether the lead up to that, what presented Iceland with the opportunity.
I think it's how we started the game, Kenny. To be perfectly honest, it was lethargic. And it's okay keeping possession at the back amongst defenders and goalkeeper, but you've got to have some point to it. And to be perfectly honest, I couldn't see the point. You know what they were trying to achieve in doing that. And when Angus Gunn goes off and Kieran Slicker comes on, then it seemed to get worse, actually. You know, there wasn't any kind of a thought, and the ball goes back to Slicker. Then what happens to the defenders? They've got to go wide. They've got to get themselves facing up the park so that he can play the pass to them, so that they're then going forward. And that wasn't happening. He then plays an awful pass forward. He's obviously nervous. He's just been thrown in unexpectedly. And it's a wonderful strike. So, you know, I think definitely to blame for that. But also the team get a lot of blame in it as well for how they started this game. They started it really, really in a kind of a down mode. okay, it's a friendly, but there's players out there with bags of experience. They know that it's a quiet Hampden as well. You've got to generate your own atmosphere here. You've got to go out there and do that and give the fans something to cheer about. And they had nothing to cheer about in the early stages, and they find themselves a goal down. We get a goal back, and John Shooter does really well. Great delivery from Max Johnson, and we've dominated really the game after that. Maybe 30-35 minutes of domination right up until the second goal for Iceland. And I just think it's poor defending, and you probably can look at that and analyse it, and I could take it back to watching Kieran Tierney defending and not actually looking at the ball at the back post. Then you've got John Shooter, who does he get a header on it? Does he header it down onto his foot? There's just a mob in there. There's a mob in there, and nobody really taking control of the situation. It's a decent delivery into the box, but someone's got to, in a blue jersey's got to go and win that. Maybe at that stage the goalkeeper should be taking a bit more control of the situation and perhaps helping his defenders out. But then, once a header isn't won, once it's starting rattling about legs, and anything can happen. And yeah, you can point the finger at Flicker, and I'll tell you what, the papers and the press will point the finger at him. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's going to have to show a lot of strength.
But I thought he was unlucky with the second goal. I thought so.
Do you think Michael could have perhaps cleared those Icelandic player right in front of him on the line? Maybe he could have been a bit stronger, Slicker, getting him out of the way. It's an obvious tactic to block the goalkeeper, but...
Well, I mean, fortunately for the Icelandic side, it's the Scotland players that are obviously ricocheting the ball around, because had one of the Icelandic team headed that, then he would have been offside. He would have been interfering with play, because as soon as the corners come in, he's got himself on top of the goalkeeper to obviously be a nuisance. I think there's definitely an element of looking at the incident with hindsight and suggesting that he could have done better. I wouldn't worry so much about that. It's more about the ball drifting in at the bottom corner and just thinking, it doesn't look great. Could have done better. And I think Willie's absolutely spot on. He's clearly a little bit nervous. The players were asking him too many. Well, they were getting him involved far too much in regards to with the ball at his feet early on. He had a couple of touches. You think, right, great, brilliant, that's enough. But they kept giving it to him. We obviously conceded the first goal, and the second one. You can debate all day long in terms of the defensive setup and should have been better. But it's another goal that goes in, and it doesn't look great for the goalkeeper, unfortunately.
Willie, do you sometimes get a bit nervous when you watch the defending?
Nerves.
Do you see when I've seen you watch some? I actually remember watching Ange Postecoglou's Celtic side up in a bumpy McDermott Park, and they were knocking the ball about the back, and it was, you think that any minute there could be a mistake. And even the Icelandic side, they're big and playing out from the back. Do you think that teams overdo that now?
Well, it's a modern style, Kenny. I was never involved in that style of play, that's for sure. Pretty much defenders were defending. We're supposed to defend. That was their prime job, was to make sure they kept the ball out. Nowadays, you've got to expect defenders to be able to build the game up from the back, but I think they overdo it. I think both sides are overdoing it, to be perfectly honest. I think Iceland, but it's the way that the game is played now. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think they do take chances. I think it means that your defenders have got to be more skillful and more confident on the ball to link. At times I don't see the point of it, because you maybe have 5, 6, 7, 8 passes, then it goes back to the goalkeeper. What does the goalkeeper do?
Push it.
Launches it up to the halfway line.
Yeah.
So listen, if they're good enough to play it and they can open you up, then fair enough. But I see it in teams that aren't good enough to play it, and I don't know why they do. And I think Iceland here, and I think Scotland in the early part of the game, we're watching a replay, but there's so many blue jerseys here. There's a ton of blue jerseys, and no one going to actually win it. They're all almost jumping out the way. I don't know if they're expecting the goalkeeper to come and get it. And I can see the two beside me. They have got it in for Kieran Slicker. It's definitely his fault. And their opinion.
Defend him, Willie. Defend him. Yeah, right. It's such a tough start for the guy, isn't it? I mean, it could be a long way back for him.
I can see their point, but can they see my point? about the defenders not taking
Michael?
responsibility, not actually winning the header as it comes in there. And as I said earlier, I think the goalkeeper could have taken more responsibility before that to actually get the Icelandic player out the way and come and try to, stop the problem at source. But the stage is set for Michael.
I said it at the time that Willie's absolutely spot on. Defensively, I mean, the whole team should be doing better. It was calamitous, from start to finish. As soon as the ball comes into the box, the team don't defend it well enough. I'm just meaning, the point I'm just trying to make is that instinctively, as a debutant coming in here, judgments are being made.
Yes.
And unfortunately for Kieran Slicker, there has been 2 moments that have led to 2 goals that don't paint a great picture for him. It's, that's just the harsh world of football. That
I think what Michael says is that he's going to get slaughtered after this game.
Well, look, it would be harsh to slaughter him, but you're looking
do
at.
Do you think he will?
Well, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of. I think the punters at home will be watching it and
Mike,
looking
I
and
can
going.
confirm. I can actually. I'm just being told social media is awash already with Slicker getting
Which
absolutely.
is, well,
he's
I
getting
mean,
slaughtered.
and that's the point I'm trying. I mean, I'm not trying to add to it. I'm just trying to emphasise what to me seems self-evident. That the second one as well, he gets his full hand to it, and it's almost like he dives past it in the end. But the defence, I mean, look, Willie's absolutely spot on. You need to listen to him. He's got the experience and he's got the T-shirt for that. In terms of defending the box better. They don't. Ricochet, I mean, it comes off of John Sutter's heel in the end, and then it's off of Lewis Ferguson from close range.
Michael, is this another new thing about defenders not looking at the ball, looking at your opponent? Is this a new thing?
Well, new in terms of what? Last 100 years.
But Kieran Tierney wasn't even looking at the ball. So,
you're about 100 years late to that
I
was
a wee bit, yeah. But I mean,
it's not new, Kenny. It's not new.
It's not.
It's been on the go for a lot of years now. I don't see the point in it, to be honest. And it's probably defensive coaches that brought it in. And as for referees talking to players, they're having a laugh. Right, they're having a laugh. That referee, he talks to Kieran Tierney, and you know what? They nod their head like that, and then Kieran Tierney ignores the ball completely, and he's got his arms round the Icelandic player. And that's the game. That's what happens in the game. I just see if you watch a replay, there's a lot of blue jerseys not taking any responsibility and trying to clear that cross into the box. In fact, they're all kind of almost jumping out the way. And that's good defending is when you identify where the problem is, and the problem with that delivery is that a blue jersey's got to go and win that header, and there's 3 or 4 of them there, and maybe too many of them, and they're all getting in each other's road, and then it's Bagatelle, it's bouncing off Suter, and then Ferguson into the back of the net, and the goalkeeper has a part to play, and absolutely, but at the same time, it's not just his fault. There's many more that you could point the finger at.
I'm not just talking about tonight's performance, but see, as we look now towards the World Cup qualifiers, would Grant Hanley be in your starting 11? Do we have better defensive options, do you think?
For me, I think he's done well since he's come back into the national team, but I would personally I'd be looking at the likes of Scott McKenna and Jack Hendry as 2 options that I would. I mean, I don't think Jack Hendry's ever. It's clearly, he was an absolute stick on to play every game under Steve Clarke, and then over the last year or so, he's drifted, and he's now. I can't remember the last time he started for the national team.
He's a nice footballer, isn't he?
He is, and I think he's got great pace as well. I certainly would. I'd have him in my team. So to answer your question, not being, I'm not going to be critical of Grant Hanley because I think he's done very well for the national team since he came back in. But at the age he's at, not playing regularly club football, I think I would personally, I'd be going with something a different option.
And probably tonight, and I'm looking at it, and it didn't come into the conversation earlier, but it seems to be Steve Clarke. Grant Hanley's the first on the team sheet. you know, in recent games, you know, recent years. So there's no doubt that he holds him in high esteem. But you have got, you know, these two younger players, much younger, in Scott McKenna and Jack Hendry. You know, in a game like this, why not give one of them an opportunity? You know, surely one of them could just sit in the middle between the other two central defenders. So I was surprised to see Grant Hanley. I've got nothing against him whatsoever, but he is getting to an age where you've got to have to find a replacement.
Yeah, we'll see if the manager makes any changes in the second period. So the players are back out. Scotland against Iceland with Willie Miller, Michael Stewart and Alistair Lammett.
Thanks again, Kenny. Scotland certainly back out, and doesn't immediately look like there's any changes to the 11 beyond the one that was made just a few minutes in when Kieran Slicker replaced the unfortunate Angus Gunn. So Scotland sticking with the outfield players that started. There is a change though for Iceland as Daniel Gretarson comes on to replace Horder Magnusson, and Scotland will get us back underway here and look to respond as they did in the first half by getting themselves level, and then hopefully continue that and go on and record the victory. But there's certainly various areas in which they'll be looking to improve in this second period at Hampden. Trailing by 2-1 as Scott McTominay rolls it back to John Souttar, who fires it diagonally looking for George Hurst to go and contest the aerial ball, and it falls kindly for McGinn, who can't quite play that into the path of Robertson. It's knocked out for a throw-in on this near side to be taken by Kieran Tierney. Goes back the way to Hanley, who'll come back out to Tierney on the left-hand side. Plays it forward looking for Hurst to go and cause a few problems. And McGinn just pulled up there as he looked to latch onto that, and he's immediately gone down and just hobbling slightly as he gets back to his feet and thinking about whether he should continue. Iceland have stopped now, and McGinn sits back down. And
that's a bizarre one because it's not a muscle injury. It looks like he's just holding his ankle. You know, he didn't roll. Nobody was near him. That is a concern. His right ankle he's holding.
Well, just as at the start of the first half, Scotland have got an early injury problem here, and you don't want to be losing John McGinn.
The thing is, you don't want to be taking any chances either. You know, in a friendly game, you know, the result here doesn't matter. I think the well-being of John McGinn's more important. But yeah, I didn't see, and I haven't been able to, or we haven't been able to see a replay. We're seeing it now. I don't know what's happened there. Can you see anything, Michael?
No, there was nothing. I'm just presuming that something must have happened earlier in the game.
Yeah.
And he just, as he was trying to get onto the loose ball, he just felt something again in his ankle. Yeah. But I mean, he's bounced up. Looks like he's going to go back on.
Yeah, Steve Clark just coming to have a word and check that he is okay to continue. The fourth official will allow him back on momentarily, but Iceland have restarted and in possession as John McGinn does re-enter the fray and seems to be moving freely enough. It was a very strange scenario that altogether. Anyway, Iceland have it, holding that 2-1 lead then that they had at the interval. And he's back with Olofsson. He's had a couple of good saves on his 7th cap. Didn't play at all during the Nations League actually, but back in for this friendly tonight, and here he is clearing up towards the halfway line, and that could be trouble for Hanley. Actually goes all the way through to Slicker, who just knocks the ball out of play, with Gudjonsson looking to get in behind Hanley. It looked like he had the beating of him for pace certainly before Slicker came out, and Iceland pick up once more right hand side, and back it goes to Ingesson midway inside his own half, picked up by Tordarson in the midfield, and now the substitute Gretarson, he plays his football in Norway. very few in the Icelandic squad do play their football in their homeland these days. And they've looked a more than capable outfit. They've obviously got World Cup qualifying coming up. A tough looking group with France and Ukraine in there, as well as Azerbaijan, who are their first opponents at home in September. The same night Scotland are in Copenhagen, starting what on paper looks probably their most difficult game away to the Danes. There's a good bit of play over on the far side from Ferguson, looking to make amends for the own goal, which in fairness he could have done very little about. Here comes Scotland then. Tierney out to the left hand side to Robertson, about 25 yards from the goal line. It goes back the way to Tierney, who's midway inside his own half, who in turn goes back to Hanley, and Scotland look to switch the play out to the right hand side now. Ferguson rolling it forward to McTominay, then Johnston on that right flank, back in field to Ferguson. Scotland keeping possession but having to go back to Slicker.
We've ended up back at the goalkeeper when Andy Robertson had the ball 25-30 yards out for goal, and so often you see him for Liverpool, it's one touch out his feet and whips it in. I don't know about you, Willie, but I don't know, again it's another one of those scenarios where we seem far too comfortable with passing the ball back, and then all of a sudden the next ball's back as well, and all the momentum's gone. The ball got played out to Andy Robertson, and I'm thinking to myself, he's going to take a touch and he's going to whip this into the box.
Yeah, whip it in or take the defender on. You know what as well, I mean, the crowd are quiet. You need to do something to get them on your side, and there isn't enough kind of a positive play. There isn't enough forward thinking play, and when you get in an area like that with decent build up as well, and the left hand side's been pretty productive in the first half. So you're right, just whip it into the box. If nothing else, you're getting the fans a little bit excited,
and that's something that you think is totally natural to Andy Robertson's play.
Iceland pick up through Johannesson. He's fouled by McGinn, who then kicks the ball off. Johannesson, who's not happy at that, and the referee isn't particularly happy either as he shows McGinn a yellow card. He's been kind of treading a fine line for a while, McGinn. He looks really fired up. Even in the first half there was a couple of moments he was putting himself about, and the referee just trying to settle things down. McGinn into the book, and Iceland with a free kick midway inside the Scotland half.
A little bit of needle, nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes the game needs that too. It shows you, okay, it's a friendly, but John getting a little bit angry there. Shouldn't have really done what he did, but hey, it was a physical contest, and he felt that he needed to make a statement, and he got a yellow card, but he deserved a yellow card.
Yeah, Johannesson wasn't happy with him, but here's a chance for Gudmundsson to send it in. A diving header, 3-1. What a finish that is! Absolutely rocketed past Kieran Slicker, who again got something on it, but not enough to keep it out. It's Victor Paulsen, a former Hibs player back in the day, and he gets on the end of that free kick to power the header past. But once again, questions will come the goalkeeper's way. But 52 minutes in, and the scoreline reads Scotland 1, Iceland 3.
I think he will be the fall guy. I don't think there's any doubt about that, because he gets his hand to the ball. He's got to be able to divert that past the post. But again, poor defending. Listen, it might be
he's offside.
He is offside, but I thought there was no VAR.
Yeah, I did say that, but
I told you.
Michael has corrected me.
Okay.
And thankfully for Scotland,
yeah,
you would think that VAR being in action would mean that is ruled out, and that is a big relief, because yeah, it's a good header, it's a powerful header, but the keeper again, Michael's got to do better.
Yeah, but look at the defenders as well. I mean,
yeah, I know. I mean, you've got what, at least 3 Icelandic guys that are running through completely unopposed. He'll be flagged offside marginally.
Yep.
But I mean, jeez,
I know. Yeah.
That again, it looks terrible. End in the back of the net. Fortunately for Kieran Slicker, this one will be chalked off. You just fear, I fear for him. You could see he was looking up at the skies, his eyes were closed.
Yep.
He knows himself he should have done better.
Yeah, he's got a look on his face like a man who's in the wrong movie.
It's given.
Oh, it's given.
It's given.
Well,
It looked offside.
It looked offside to me. I mean, I'd love to see another replay of that, but I mean, he looked offside.
So 3-1 Iceland lead. And Scotland are having a night to forget here at Hampden.
What is it? An arm? Is it? I think there's a blue jersey arm in front.
Well, it's amazing how, you know, this is a big talking point for me in terms of the frame that is actually stopped it, because that was just shown to us was not the frame that it was initially paused on before.
Anyway, it's been given.
It has. And Scotland have got to buck up their ideas here as Hanley powers forward and finds George Hurst at the edge of the area, breaks back to Hanley. He's going to have a go, and he's saved by Olafsson. Good effort from Hanley from just inside the area, left-footed effort, but Olafsson keeps it out. And with the 55 on the clock, it's still Scotland 1, Iceland 3.
In all seriousness, forgetting, you know, about being overly critical about anybody, what this shows is the huge importance of a 42-year-old Craig Gordon, because he's the national team's number one. There's no doubt about it. And it also just shows the dramatic urgency and desperate need for alternatives. Angus Gunn, you know, when he has played for the national team, has looked more than competent, but he doesn't have a club. He's fallen out of favour, obviously, when he was at Norwich, and it looks, you know, desperate that we need him to be finding a bit of form somewhere, anywhere, because you can't just be relying on Craig Gordon.
Here's McTominay, right hand side into the penalty area, looking to get it shot away on the left foot. It's closed down though. Good defending again from Iceland. Still can't get it 100% clear, but they have now, and up to the halfway line, and it's Hanley picking up. A bit of urgency about the Scots play, and well, might there be, given the abject showing and the abject scoreline certainly at this stage, trailing 3-1 to Iceland, to the best will in the world, are far from a top level nation. Here's Gilmore spreading the play out to the right hand side to Johnston. Johnston tries to play it into the feet of McTominay. He's having his jersey pulled, but manages to feed it back out right hand side to Johnston. Here's the header, great save again to deny George Hurst. Well, at one end the goalkeeper is having a nightmare, the other Olafsson's having perhaps the game of his life as he tips that one away from the bottom corner to deny George Hurst once again.
Fantastic. I mean, it's a top quality save, isn't it? Down low to his left hand side. Really good work by Johnson, and then Hurst, great header down.
Here comes a corner. Hanley gets on the end of it, but can't direct it on goal.
I tell you what, he's so unlucky. Their number 9, is he not? I mean, that's two magnificent efforts, equally matched by fabulous saves. Could easily have had a brace.
I think the free kick might have been given in the penalty area there rather than just the goal kick. But either way, it's not Scotland getting a goal. I think actually Hurst, does he make contact there with his shoulder more than his head? And Olafsson, it's great reactions nonetheless, because it was heading into the back of the net, but down he went to his left hand side, and a good strong hand to keep it out as Iceland prepare to get the game back underway. But 57 minutes in, I don't think many people would have been predicting this scoreline. 3-1, the Scots trail. And forward come Iceland once more. Slicker comes out off his line, gathers that one.
We don't want the ironic cheers, do we?
Well, I was kind of trying to establish in my own mind whether they're ironic cheers or people trying to just give them a bit of encouragement, but
no,
probably not. No, I mean, that's the last thing we want to happen here tonight, is for a young man's confidence to be shattered before his career's really up and running. But we said it when he came on, Willie, it's a big chance for him, and he's unfortunately not quite grasped it. But
it'll take a while to recover, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, we certainly don't want to add to if there is social media criticism of it. We don't want to be. We just have to call it as we see it. Tough night certainly for Kieran Slicker so far, but here comes Scotland looking to get themselves back into the game. Again, can't make anything of a bouncing ball inside the penalty area, and Iceland come away again, and they could cause some damage here as it's Gudmundsson coming forward up to the edge of the penalty area, left hand side now, with flooding bodies forward, and it's well cut out there by Ferguson. Otherwise that was going to fall kindly at the edge of the box for Johannesson, but Scotland looking to counter here, and it's Robertson in the centre circle for McGinn, and then he plays it into Ferguson, out to the right hand side to McTominay looking to play in Johnson. Now it goes back to Ferguson, edge of the box, into Robertson with his back to goal. He can't keep a hold of it, and Scotland attacks just breaking down at the last, and you do fear that Iceland could pick them off themselves in the counter, but Gilmore's picked up once more midway inside the Iceland half. It's a poor pass though, looking for McGinn, and now Paulson's pulled up and he's going to be replaced after scoring a wonderful goal. He played 34 times for Hibs back in 2011, joined them in January of that year and left in the same month the following year, but he has scored a wonderful goal to put his country 3-1 up, and he's just been replaced this evening, right back.
You know, the other thing that's quite apparent is, and it was the same in the Greek game as well, that how desperately we need and miss Ben Doak's pace, because he just brings that different dynamic to the side, and it'll be very interesting to see how, when he's back fit, Steve Clarke tries to fit him into the team if he's got Kieran Tierney and Andy Robertson, fit, because he obviously came into the side, he was out in the wide area. Well, we're playing a back four because Kieran Tierney wasn't fit. How do you get all those pieces to fit into the jigsaw?
Yeah, it's a problem you probably want to have though, isn't it, rather than not even having the option.
Well, yes, it is a problem you want to have, but can you play Ben Doak in a system where you're playing the back three? Because he's a wide man that you want to be playing high up the park. Now you could, if you're playing lopsided slightly and you're playing him on the right and he's high up and doesn't really need to come back and play as a wing back. Or are we going to be playing a back four, and then how are you fitting Tierney and Robertson into the team?
Well, these are all questions that will be posed in the coming months.
Because I would argue that we need Ben Doak in this side.
Here's McTominay inside the penalty area, pokes it, goal, it's brilliant save, but it is a goal on the rebound for George Hurst at last. The goalkeeper couldn't keep that one out as he was grounded. The next question will be, was Hurst onside when the initial shot from McTominay was taken? That will be checked, but George Hurst, having been denied a couple of times by Olofsson, who did brilliantly to keep McTominay's effort out there, but he could do nothing about the rebound from Hurst, who at the moment looks like he has grabbed a goal. He's first for Scotland to make it Scotland 2, Iceland 3.
It's a great take and strike from McTominay. I'd be astonished if Hurst was flagged.
It's offside.
How quick was that?
It may not even be.
It's McTominay.
It's McTominay in the first, the ball forward for him.
I was just going to say, there's no way Hurst was offside because he was behind the ball. But McTominay, yeah. There's no messing about there.
And nothing, it seems, is going to go Scotland's way this evening, or George Hurst for that matter. I mean, how unlucky is he? You were just saying that a moment ago.
I mean, two magnificent saves, and well, it was offside. I don't know if you could call it marginal, actually. The decision was made very quickly, so it probably just staring us in the face. We just was looking at the wrong piece of action.
So still Scotland 1, Iceland 3 after all, and George Hurst still looking for his first international goal. He's been bright enough certainly up front, rolling that one into an empty net from about 8 yards, but unfortunately for him and unfortunately for Scotland, McTominay offside in the first action before he took his shot. Grimacing somewhat as we see McTominay on our screens. Iceland with a throw in then, deep in their own territory. Play it forward down the left hand side. Forward it goes rather aimlessly in the end, and Slicker comes out of his goal and plays it to his right hand side to Suter. He plays it square for Hanley, midway inside his own half. We've played 64 minutes almost at Hampden, and
Al, I think the other issue now is if you're looking to, put on a bit of an experience and give them an opportunity, do you actually contemplate doing that if you're Steve Clarke? I don't think when the situations like this that it's that it's advantageous for one of the young players to be given the role of trying to turn this performance round.
Here's Robertson up towards the edge of the penalty area, out to his left, him again onto the right foot, curls in. It's a decent enough looking ball, but it's well dealt with. But Scotland looking to keep it alive. McGinn plays it back to Tierney, left hand side, back to McGinn. Not a great ball. McGinn does really well to keep it in play, almost manufactures an opening for himself, and eventually has to settle for the throw in, just about in line with the penalty area on this left hand side, taken by Robertson back to Tierney. Scotland facing yet another friendly defeat. They've been so poor in friendlies in recent times. No wins in their last 8 here. And the win over Gibraltar this time last year is their only friendly win of any sort in 9. And another one against Luxembourg makes it 2 wins in 15. Drawn 4 and lost 9, and they're in danger of losing a 10th here this evening unless they can do something in the last 25 minutes here to remedy things. Munson loses out in the middle of the park. Then again was he just caught there by Torsteinsson. Play allowed to continue with Ferguson in possession, out to his right hand side to Johnson, about 15 yards inside the Iceland half. Now it's McTominay on the right flank, looking to move away there from Gretarson. McTominay just lays it off to Ferguson, back again to Suter, and square to Tierney. Tierney out to the left hand side for Robertson, who comes in off the left and then exchanges passes with him again. An opportunity here for Robertson. He's escaped a couple of markers. Can he pick out a teammate? He can't. Not the second time either. Then he gets it back to Ferguson. He's closed down too quickly. Hurst was on his heels, and Iceland managed to pounce on the ball and knock it clear and mount their own counter attack. Again, a pretty promising looking opening comes to nothing for Scotland. And Iceland, well, they're defending doggedly at times, and they're having to, as Scotland prepare a triple substitution down there, as Shea Adams, Lennon Miller's going to come on for a debut, and Scott McKenna is the other one who is stripped. So Lennon Miller is going to be thrust into the action here, and first taste of the senior international setup for him.
I think you've got to use this game like that as well, haven't you? You've got to try and give players an opportunity to get some minutes under the belt as well. Scott McKenna in particular, very, very strong, good, quick central defender as well. I think he needs some games. He needs to be given the nod from the manager for constantly turning up. And Lennon Miller, a young player, good opportunity for him, but we've seen that opportunity handed to Slicker as well, and we've seen what happened too. So the manager's made the changes, 3 changes, a couple of experience and 1 youngster.
Shea Adams coming on for George Hurst. Tierney replaced by McKenna, and Hanley also coming on off for Lennon Miller, which would suggest maybe a change of system. 4 at the back, I guess, Michael.
I think you can see that straight away.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
And let's see how that affects the rest of the lineup as McGinn picks up left-hand side and swings it all the way to the back of the penalty area where McTominay kills it dead. He's quickly closed down though. Johnston in support, swings it in on his left foot. Shea Adams will challenge for it, can't reach it, and then nodded back to the goalkeeper pretty comfortably there as Iceland deal with pretty much everything that Scotland have thrown at them. Then Miller looks like he's just sitting in there alongside Billy Gilmore.
I'll be honest, I would have preferred to have seen Kieran Bowie coming on.
Coming together there between Robertson and one of the Icelanders. It's a yellow card for Torsteinsson, who's one of the players who's been mixing it with McGinn, but on this occasion it was Robertson, and he's booked for his troubles.
He just likes mixing it. Some people are like that, you know.
Not sure I know any of these kind of people.
Bit of spice to the game.
You say that as Kenny McIntyre has disappeared, Alistair.
I was thinking about someone even closer at hand, to be honest, but there you are.
I think that's harsh. Billy's very genteel individual.
He is. Here's McTominay right hand side. Scotland come forward. Back to Gilmore. 20 minutes to play. Scotland trailing by 3-1 at home to Iceland, facing their first defeat against this opposition.
Lovely touch for Lennon Miller.
Yeah, we got it back from McTominay right hand side. Now it's out with Ferguson. Back to Johnston at the edge of the box. Just a slightly heavy first touch, and Iceland again, they're on their toes to win possession back, and they're coming forward and they're looking for a fourth goal incredibly this evening. And Scotland get back and get bodies in the way, and they pick up possession once more through Gilmore.
Good defending, Scott McKenna. You know, seeing the angle ball and the pace that he's got as well, pace to burn. I think he needs more Scotland caps. I think if Hanley is going to move to the side, then I don't see any issue with Scott McKenna coming in there. Whether it's a 2, which I think he's better than a 2, but he can easily play left side of a 3 as well.
Yeah, but just on that, I think you saw with the Nations League, I think we look a far better outfit, and I know we've played the back 3 and qualified well, but I think in the Nations League you saw the performances against the top sides.
Sorry, Mike. Johnston takes on a very ambitious effort with so many options.
I thought it wasn't even worth commenting on, Al.
That's fair enough.
And it leads into the debate I was talking about with regards to Ben Doak. That's the system he fits into. I don't see how you get him into a team that's playing with wing backs. You want to give him the space in a wide area to go and get 1v1 against the opponents. And the way that he sets up with a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 or whatever, it allows him to do that a lot better.
These two can easily do it. And good age as well, good pace, both of them. Understanding of the game as well. You know, good positional sense. So if it's a 4, then
you're talking about the 2 centre halves.
The 2 centre halves that we're talking about just now. Shooter and
athletic, strong, good height.
Yep.
Triple change here for Iceland, which is where things begin to get even trickier for me. Coming on are Williamson, Anderson and Traustason, and off go Johannesson, Torsteinsson and Torderson as they look to at the very least consolidate the 3-1 advantage they currently hold over the hosts. Scotland looking to do something about that though. McGinn just knocks it back to Robertson. He plays it back to John Souttar midway inside his own half. He's got McKenna square of him. It's Lennon Miller, who anyone who's seen him play will know he's a confident young man, happy to take the ball. Don't think he'll be fazed by this stage or even the thought of coming on at 3-1 down on his international debut. He'll relish the opportunity to go out there and impress. Interesting to see where he's playing his football next season. He's still got a year of his contract at least at Motherwell, but all the noises were that he will be moving on. But Motherwell will certainly get good money for him, and so they should. Such an impressive young talent. Here's Ferguson picking up possession midway inside the Iceland half, and it is Lennon Miller, but 30 yards from goal. Plays it to Adams. Adams at the edge of the box, tries to find room for the shot. It wasn't really on, but it breaks to Miller with his back to goal. Might come for Ferguson as well, but again, just won't happen for Scotland in that final third as they look to try and create something. But Iceland, you have to credit them for just getting bodies in the way at times, Willie. They're doing exactly what they have to do at this stage.
Yeah, defending well, you know, spotting the danger, getting bodies back, anticipating things, getting important tackles in and challenges and blocks. Yeah, it's called defending, you know, and it's really important in the game.
Couldn't agree more.
We might want to focus on it a little bit after this one.
You know what I was meaning before the incident with Torsteinsson down in the bottom corner with Robertson? I was just saying, for me, Che Adams comes on. I'd rather see Kieran Bowie coming on. You know, we've seen plenty of Che Adams in a Scotland jersey. You're making a substitution with 20 minutes or so to go. You know, get Kieran Bowie on. No?
Yeah. The only thing I would say about that is that if it gets any worse, how does that affect them? Now, that's looking at it from a negative point of view, and you really shouldn't be looking at it from a negative point of view. You should maybe be saying, well, let's get them on and see what they're made of.
He's looking at
them tested.
You know, he's a striker. Young Kieran Bowie's going to be looking upon it as a positive in terms of getting on the park and getting a game for his country, irrespective of whether it's 3-1 that they're down.
I'm just thinking it could go to 4-1.
Well, it could, but I mean, from Kieran Bowie's perspective, if he's on the park, I don't think, you know, it's a friendly. Of course, it's going to be disappointing to lose the game, but he's not going to be, you know, coming on as sub concerned or overly worried about the result. He's going to be wanting to come on to show that he can have an impact.
And I said that I think that's what these games are for. These games are there for. It's not the result. Okay, you don't want to see a bad result. You don't want to see a defeat. But the purpose of these games is, first of all, the camp, I think. But to give players an opportunity, to give them their chance, and, you know, invite them to go into the park and make a statement. It doesn't matter how young they are or how inexperienced they are. You know, go out there and take the chance. Unfortunately, it's no work for the goalkeeper, but yeah, I mean, Lennon Miller's come on. He looks really comfortable, confident as well, and you've got a fair point there, rather than Che Adams, because we know what Che Adams can do.
I think Iceland are going to be forced into another change here, because there's a player down injured, and Aron Gunnarsson is stripped and ready to come on here. And he's going to replace Sverrir Ingesson at the back with 14 minutes of the 98 left, and Scotland have got plenty to do if they're to avoid defeat here this evening. It's our 107th cap for the now Qatari-based Aron Gunnarsson. He actually played in both the World Cup qualifying defeats by Scotland back in 2008 and 2009, one of the few survivors, and on for the last few minutes, so he certainly relished the opportunities to get one over in Scotland, having been on the end of a couple of defeats earlier in his career.
It's quite the contrast from Iceland to Qatar.
I'd say so.
Still looks like he's hiding indoors.
Wouldn't you? Pasty skin. His, not yours, obviously. Scott McTominay in possession, just inside his own half. We've got 13 minutes for Scotland to find a couple of goals, as they're going to bring on a couple more substitutes. Nathan Patterson being one of them. I think that's Tommy Conway as well. Patterson hasn't had a whole lot of football for Everton, injury plagued, and also just often overlooked by a couple of different managers at Everton. So we've got a chance here to get a bit of football in his legs, as Scotland look to somehow salvage something from this game. McKenna slides in there.
Good play.
Breaks though for Iceland, and Robertson with a bit of defending to do here. He has to roll it back to Kieran Slicker. And Slicker now just at the edge of his 6-yard box, just plays it up towards the halfway line. It comes to McGinn. McGinn into the feet of Adams. Adams to his right to McTominay. Scotland need a goal. Pretty sharpish, you would have thought. McTominay taken out there. Johnston plays on. The referee played an advantage. It didn't really accrue. I think he could still have brought that back for the foul on McTominay. He obviously felt he'd played enough of an advantage, and Scotland just couldn't make anything of it. And the crowd didn't really fancy that, and eventually Iceland knock it out of play because McTominay's still down. You can understand why he initially played on, Willie. Would you have thought it would be fair enough to pull it back?
I would have thought so. I thought it was quite a reckless challenge on McTominay. You can understand the advantage, and you've got to encourage referees to do that, but there was no advantage for Scotland, so just call it back. And Scott McTominay's taken a real sore one there. I thought it was a reckless challenge.
He's going to be replaced here anyway by Tommy Conway, and Patterson coming on for Johnston for the closing stages. So that's all of Scotland's half a dozen subs used. As McTominay makes his way off, well, he's given a rapturous applause, but there won't be too many in blue getting that as they troop off tonight, unless things change drastically in the closing 10 minutes. Off he troops. Serie A MVP, most valuable player, and aside from tonight where no one in blue has really done themselves any great credit, he's had a phenomenal season, Michael.
Season of dreams, really.
Already a massive player for Scotland. We knew that he had goals in him. That he almost single-handedly at one stage was keeping them up in that title race, Napoli, and involved in the title clinching day with the opening goal, an acrobatic effort at that.
But never a centre back though.
No, I think Steve Clarke admitted that himself. That it took a self-deprecating joke recently that took him a while to realise he was an attacking midfielder rather than a centre back, but glad he eventually realised. Here's Suter, halfway line, 10 minutes to play. Scotland still trailing by 3-1. If we're sounding rather flat, it's really only a replica of what we're seeing out on the park at the moment. Difficult to really be overly upbeat about the display out there. Certainly the scoreline, and Scotland just unable to break Iceland down.
The goals we've conceded have killed it. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's been actually all right, and if we hadn't conceded such terrible goals, then you can imagine the momentum and the pattern of play would have been a little bit better.
Here comes Scotland looking to get themselves back into it, but it just wouldn't quite come for Ferguson. It was good defending.
It's almost an absolutely exquisite ball, by the way. Lennon Miller, 3 touches, and he almost drops on a sixpence for Ferguson running in behind.
Yeah, he certainly not looked out of place as Iceland looked to come forward again, but Suter steps in to stop Gudmundsson in his tracks. And here is Nathan Patterson on that right flank, far side, up to the halfway line, into Shea Adams with his back to goal, back to Miller. First time ball out to the left hand side, onto the chest of John McGinn. Couldn't kill it though. Oh, he could be in bother there. I think if that was a competitive game, the referee would be thinking about a second yellow there, as John McGinn left one on his opponent there and acknowledges the foul.
Yeah, and he did leave one on him. Yeah, it wasn't too dangerous, but it was left on him. He didn't have to, put his boot into the shin. Yeah, and you're right. If it's competitive, then he's treading a very fine line.
So free kick to Iceland. 7 minutes to play here. Scotland 1, Iceland 3. And Scotland staring down the barrel of a first ever defeat against a country we've beaten half a dozen times.
Sorry, tell me why that's not a free kick. 2 hands in the back and they just let it go.
Not sure.
No, it just irritates me, that's all. I've got it off my chest now, so I won't speak about it again.
Shea Adams giving chase here, but we've beaten to that by Greterson. He turns it back to his goalkeeper, who's a good evening between the sticks, and that's one of the reasons Scotland do find themselves trailing. And Suter plays it out to the right hand side to Patterson. Infield it goes to Miller. Miller just inside his own half. Infield to Gilmore. On to McKenna. Suter picking up possession about 10 yards inside his own half. Plays it out to Patterson, right hand side. Patterson looks up and finds Conway. Conway stumbles his way through a challenge and then loses out on that left hand side as Iceland come forward. Scotland have won it back only for a moment, and then Greterson completes the clearance from the edge of his penalty area. Scotland pick up possession once more. They just have lacked the guile at times to unpick the Icelandic defence, and it looks like it's going to cost them. And given that we've only got this one in the Liechtenstein game to iron things out for the World Cup qualifiers, as much as the two guys here were talking positively about the optimism that should surround the Scotland squad, it's difficult to see how they turn this performance into one that's capable of getting a result in Copenhagen at the start of September. Here's McKenna though into the feet of McGinn. He tries one round the corner for Robertson, but it doesn't come off. Robertson's asking why McKenna didn't give the ball straight to him. And
it's a struggle, isn't it? I mean, it's a real struggle, and I think Scotland do struggle when the opposition put up that barrier, that block, and that's what Iceland have done. And really, you know, you're looking at someone with the quality and the class and perhaps a guile to open them up, and you know, we really haven't had that tonight. And you know, that has been a problem, still is a problem, but defensively tonight has been one major issue.
I mean, there's no doubt that obviously the goals we've lost have been truly awful, but it just shows you how transformational Ben Doak has been for the national team, because apart from him we don't have that real pace, somebody that 1v1 is going to drop the shoulder and eliminate players. I mean, he took the team to a different level, and the balance of the team became so much more suitable and capable of performing at that top level, because it complemented the talents that we've already got in the team. So I mean, the big thing is to try and get him back in. I think Lennon Miller, by the way, has done very well so far. I would actually say that he's done a lot more in this game than Lewis Ferguson did.
And he's found a great ball for Robertson, and now it's McGinn who tries to dink one, and the keeper tips it over. I think it might have been heading over anyway, but the keeper was taking absolutely no chances as he tips it over for a corner. It was better again from Scotland, and it was all instigated by that man Lennon Miller. Here he is on the edge of the box, swinging it in. It doesn't find a teammate on that occasion, and he's pulled one of the Icelanders to the ground, and he's going to earn a yellow card.
It's understandable, but you know, I'm bringing up Lewis Ferguson because so much has been made about, you know, what he's done over in Italy with Bologna, and I've yet to see him bring that form to the national team when he's had a chance. Whereas Lennon Miller stepped in, and he's only had a short period of time, but one-touch football, playing the ball forward, getting on the ball. You know, I personally look at Lewis Ferguson and I see all the attributes, but you know, I want to see him having a bigger impact in the game. Whereas Lennon has done that so far. You know, you can see him. You're waiting. You're thinking, oh, yes, something's about to happen. Whereas I just think all too often in a Scotland jersey, certainly Lewis Ferguson, I'm left wanting a bit more.
and you know he's capable of it.
That's what I mean, that I'm wanting more, because you know that he's got those attributes.
Scotland have it. Only a couple of minutes of the 90 left, and Hampden is emptying pretty rapidly, understandably.
That's for me is just Lennon Miller sees the game. You know, this is a young kid that stepped in here, and he's done that 3 or 4 times already. First time, bang, round the corner. He's a very intelligent football player. That you surround him with better players, he raises his game.
Where do you think, if you could pick your ideal next club for him, or next league for him to play in, at least, where would you see him going?
If he went to Italy, I think he'd be an absolute star as well, because that tempo game as well, that little bit extra second or two on the ball in the middle of the park. You can see the way he's playing. He sees a pass, he's got great composure, tactically very intelligent. I think personally him going to play in the continent would suit him perfectly, and I think he recognises that as well.
Scotland have a corner, left hand side. Gilmour sends it back post. McKenna rises, tries to nod it back across goal, but it won't fall for a Scotland player. And Iceland clear as far as Patterson, midway inside the Iceland half. Looks for a ball back into the area for McKenna to attack once more. Shea Adams is on the end of it, but he can't hit the target. It did come off an Iceland player last though, and it will be another corner as Scotland try to mount a very, very late salvage mission here. But they trail by 3-1. We're in the last minute of the 90. There will be a few minutes added on. I'm just looking at the fourth officials board, which is preparing to show the stadium for those left in it. And it's a 3-minute extension to the 90 as Gilmour sends it near post this time, but that's dealt with as well. And Robertson picks up and back to Gilmour. And this is going to go down as one of the really poorest results probably in Scotland's history. I don't think that's an exaggeration. A 3-1 defeat at home to a nation ranked 30 places below Scotland. Yes, they've been pretty decent on the night, but as Michael's pointing out, the nature of the goals Scotland have lost, and you can't really argue with them taking nothing from the game. As Patterson,
I'm sure a few World Cup displays in the 70s were a wee bit more disappointing than a friendly defeat to Iceland.
At least that was at a World Cup, Michael.
Yeah, but I think that adds weight to the disappointing result, Alistair.
Well, what I'm saying is it's up there. Back with Olofsson.
I think you said it was right at the top.
No, I didn't. I said it's one of.
It's not been a good night, has it?
What, for Al or for Scotland?
I think for everybody. Maybe even some of the listeners, by the way, if we don't try to lighten the load a little bit. I know it's difficult, but we could maybe just put in a burst for the last 2 minutes. Get a bit of enthusiasm going.
Well, if anyone can do that, it's you, Willie.
Oh, well done, Al.
I thought you were calling him argumentative before.
Scotland have it, middle of the park, but there's only a minute to play, and it's been given away this time by Lennon Miller. Working hard to try and get it back. Commits the foul, and Iceland will have the free kick. And yeah, it's been massively disappointing. And the Tartan Army, who turned up in good numbers, are again going away disappointed. It is now no wins in 9 home friendlies. 3 draws and now 6 defeats in that run. Since Matt Ritchie's goal beat Denmark here. And Steve Clarke has plenty to ponder down there. He will address the media just shortly. I don't think he'll be in the best of spirits. The final few seconds of this one playing out, but Iceland have been good value for their victory. They've worked hard in defence. They've been bold at times coming forward. Well, just listen to that. There's only a fraction of the support left inside Hampden, but they still let the players know how they feel about that result. A 3-1 defeat to Iceland, and some dreadful goals given away. The first of which was executed really well in the end by Andre Gudjonsson, but the manner of the defending that surrounded it was less than impressive. 8 minutes in, after Kieran Slicker had come on to replace Angus Gunn after only a few minutes for his Scotland debut, which will go down as a Scotland debut to forget, unfortunately, for the young keeper. He was beaten, having made a bit of a mess of a clearance for that first goal, and subsequently out of position, unable to keep it out as it headed into the top corner. Scotland did respond and did draw themselves level after 25 minutes as John Suter headed in from a Max Johnston corner to make it 1 apiece. But just before half-time, Lewis Ferguson knocked into his own net as Scotland failed to deal with a corner at the near post, and things just went from bad to worse after that. Early in the second half, a Gudmundsson free kick midway inside the Scotland half was met powerfully by the head of Victor Palsson. Again, Slicker might have done better in trying to keep it out, but he couldn't get a firm enough glove to it, and it beat him. And although we thought it was going to be called offside in the end, VAR checked it and cleared it, and the goal was given. And at the other end, although Scotland looked to try and reduce the deficit, George Hurst had been denied a couple of times already. He was denied once more by another terrific save by Olofsson just before the hour mark. And then when he thought he had his goal, as he knocked into the empty net after Olofsson had saved from McTominay, VAR on that occasion intervened because McTominay had been offside in the build-up before he took his shot, and the goal was chopped off. And really beyond that, there was little for Scotland to shout about, and so they fall to an extremely disappointing defeat here at Hampden this evening. It finishes Scotland 1, Iceland 3.
Scotland, live on Sports Sound. From BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no substitute.